Welcome to the Journey Through Homeschooling podcast, practical support for every step of your homeschool adventure. I'm Jami Thornsberry.
And I'm Adonna Pryor.
Adonna, today we are going to talk about the growth and kind of tips and information in regards to special needs homeschooling. We at ECA have seen a rise over the last couple of years of families who have children with either learning difficulties or specific special needs who are pulling their kids out of the public school system and deciding to homeschool them. A little, you guys know I love the statistics. So looking this up, approximately 38% of homeschooled students in the U.S. have some type of special needs, which is triple the rate of public school education. So roughly 2.5 to 3.1 million total homeschoolers are considered or have been diagnosed with some sort of special need or learning difficulties. That's a lot of families. And so one of the things that we want to do is help provide information and support for those families. And if there's those families, we know that there's a ton of families who are thinking about this, but maybe are too scared. What would you say, Adonna?
I agree. If you have a child with special needs, especially going into school and you just don't know that they have a special need, maybe they're dyslexic and you don't know that. Maybe they have a learning disability that you just didn't see until they're in school, and then all of a sudden they're not able to either read or they're not able to do handwriting skills or something. It can be really scary because you're just finding out, oh no, my child needs special help. Now, for some of these, I would say that the school system is generating some problems because they start children in education so early. Age 5 is way too early to demand that children read. Excuse me, I didn't start coughing until you handed me the mic. Children who are age 5, we really can't expect them, especially every single one of them, to be at the same level when it comes to reading. Can you get me water?
Yeah, reading and a lot of the what we call readiness skills for school. In the American public school system, they require those to be met by age 5 so that kids can go into school, they can start school. But really, a lot of those markers that we call readiness skills develop on a spectrum, not at a specific point in time. We've talked about this before where, children learn to walk anywhere between 8 to 10 months of age, all the way up to a year and a half or more. And that is not considered delayed or remedial or, any of those types of things. Yet we bring our kindergartner to school who maybe doesn't show all those readiness markers. And already we're talking about delayed learning, potentially some kind of special need. Not to mention the fact that we're putting them in a situation that really challenges their nervous system. They're being separated from their mother. They're being separated from, a warm, natural environment and put into an environment where even the best of a teacher who would love them, right, is still not their parent, their primary caretaker. And they're being, forced into doing things that are beyond their capability or really just don't need to be done right now.
We've seen parents come to us and the child has had not a learning disability, but is showing signs of stress. They're not sleeping at night. They're not sleeping well. Their eating patterns are off. Some may develop stutters or speech impediments, headaches, those kinds of things. And it's not that the child, isn't necessarily ready to read, but it's the stress that has been placed on them, being moved out of their environment and being asked to learn at a specific level. So schools are demanding too much of children, especially boys. We've talked about this before, how the hormone testosterone interferes with the natural connections between the two hemispheres of the brain, which the brain uses to read. So it does generally take boys a couple years longer, or at least 6 or 7 months longer to read than generally girls are reading. So we are hurting a large group of kids when we say, hey, we're going to put you in school at 5, and then we expect you to be reading at a particular level by the time you're 8 years old. And meanwhile, we're testing you and telling you that you're failing at a lot of subjects. So for many children, we are setting them up to believe that they're failures. And they can develop some type of other physical or learning issue related to that insistence that they be at the same level. There are other special needs that aren't related to that. So they may be the cause of, there may be a physical need, like you have a child who is deaf, a child who is blind, a child who has autism, a child who has specific learning delays or physical delays. And the school system is not built to handle an overwhelming majority of people with delays. Many times children who have learning delays are placed in a classroom with other children who may have severe or moderate delays, and then the child with not severe or moderate delays is then believes themselves to be worse off than they are, or they don't get the attention and they don't get the education that they should be getting because the teacher and the aides just physically don't have the time to spend on them because the other children need their attention. So the public school system is trying, but they really, in most cases, are struggling in the area of special needs and how to care for these kids. And some of them need one-on-one assistance. So we do see this huge increase in people who want to pull their children out and keep them at home, remove some of those external stresses, more closely regulate what they're eating, more closely regulate who they're coming in contact with, because if you have special needs, having something like the flu or the cold, that's going to add a tremendous amount of stress depending on the physical or mental need that you have. So a lot of parents say it's easier for me if we just bring my kids home and we educate them at home. So what we are trying to do is to kind of inform you on what some of the things that are available to you. And every state does have regulations on homeschooling and receiving care through the public system. In Tennessee, where we're at, the state does offer homeschoolers the same services that it would offer public school students. Now, there would be restrictions on that. You may be restricted to what therapist that you can see, what doctor, what hospital, what clinic that you're allowed to use, but they are required to offer you those services, even if you're with an umbrella school. Now, in most cases, they are going to insist that you have something called an individualized education plan or an IEP. And then in almost all cases, you have to have a specific diagnosis in order for the public system to actually pay for the services that you're getting for your special needs child. But you can go to the state and go to your local county officials and ask them what services they offer, even though you are homeschooled. So those services are still legally available to you, even if you homeschool, which is great for us. But you just have to be careful. There are going to be a lot of strings tied to that about care. But they're still there. And if you do have a special needs child, I would recommend that you talk to the local school board and see what is available for you, and then carefully look and see how that's going to benefit you and your individual family, because every student's going to be different. Every family is going to be different.
Yeah, I would say probably about half of the families that we have receive some type of services from the public school system. The other half have chosen not to go that route because they really want the freedom. And that seems to be one of the biggest, as we've read a study done by NERI, the National Home Educators Research Institute. They did a study on special needs homeschooling, and the biggest reason that families are choosing to homeschool their children with special needs or learning difficulties is because they're becoming disillusioned with the care that their children and the education that their children are getting in the public school system. And like Adonna said, even the best of teachers, and we know several, teachers in the public school system in this area, particularly that deal with or teach special needs, are wonderful. But, like she said, the demand that's on them is so great that they just can't give the students the time and the energy that they want to. So parents are beginning to pull their kids out and consider homeschooling. And that's one of the benefits of homeschooling, is that you do have the time and you have the freedom and flexibility to make sure that your child is getting both the services they need and the education they need. You get to work those services into your school day. Couple of things that, just to give you some, reminder is, you get to actually see and experience the progress that they're making, rather than it happening at school and you hearing about it from someone else. But some of the tips that we've seen on, heard from our families, heard from, online forum groups, is if you're going to do this, if you're going to pull your student out or begin homeschooling your special needs child, is to make sure that you have community surrounding you. Make sure that you, especially as a homeschool mom, have a way to get a break at times, so that you can make sure that your needs are being met, that your bucket, so to speak, is being filled. And there's lots of resources out there other than your child having an IEP. HSLDA, who's the Homeschool Legal Defense Association, has a whole series of articles about how to go about homeschooling your child with special needs or learning difficulties, and including how to choose and adapt curriculum. So that's a great resource. So having your community and having those resources on hand are really going to be the keys for you if you're homeschooling. And then, enlist the help of your doctors and your therapists and the people that are already in your life to help in this endeavor. What would you say?
Yeah, I agree. The biggest thing for you, again, is going to be that community. Getting plugged in somewhere, finding the support that you need. Not necessarily that your student needs, your child needs, but find that support that you need. And then through that, you are going to find what your child needs. So focus on getting, however you find that, whether it's through friends, people at church, whether it is through your therapist or your doctor, make sure that you are finding other people that you can sit down with and you can talk to, ask them questions. Which was better for you? Was it better to go through your private insurance, or was it better to go through the for the public school system? Was which therapist is better? Which homeschool co-op is better for you? Make sure you're asking a lot of questions and finding Facebook groups, local groups that you can attend, and get that connection, not just so that you can refresh, but so that you can find everything you need to really help your child thrive in the homeschool community.
Yeah, another good resource for families is, instead of investing in like a box curriculum that you're going to adapt, is going to the online resource called Teachers Pay Teachers, where you get to choose different, it's not going to be a full set curriculum, but like unit studies, lessons, lap books, different things that you can print off and use and really adapt to what your family, what your child needs. And hopefully at the end of that, you're not spending a ton of money. But talking with other families who are doing this currently is one of the best resources. And there's tons of Facebook groups online, tons of forums that you can really tap into to get that resource. Anything else you would say, Adonna, about this? I'd like to go into more discussion about this. We'd love to at some point invite a family on who's actually doing this so that we can pick their brain. But we'll work on that, see where that goes. But we appreciate you listening to the Journey Through Homeschooling podcast, practical support for every step of your homeschool adventure. Like this episode, share it with your friends, and follow along with us. And you can also find us on Instagram and Facebook under Exodus Christian Academy. Drop us a line. We'd love to hear from you. What kind of episodes you'd like, things that you're going through that we could talk about. And then we will be back next Wednesday.